Good morning, friends. Today we are going to learn about the next part of our unit number 3, that is influence of musical films. See the part of introduction, that is Hindi film songs, more formally known as Hindi Geet or filmy songs. Especially we are thinking about the Bollywood songs and the effect of Bollywood songs on the generations and also the Indian youth. Are songs featured in Hindi films derived from the song and dance routines common in Indian films. Bollywood songs along with dance are characteristics motif of Hindi cinema, which gives it enduring popular appeal, cultural value, and context. Hindi film songs form a predominant component of Indian pop music and derive their inspiration from both classical and modern sources. Hindi film songs are now firmly embedded in North India's popular culture and routinely encountered in North India, in marketplaces, shops, during bus and train journeys, and numerous other situations. Though Hindi films routinely contain many songs and some dance routines, they are not musical in the Western theatrical sense. The music song dance aspect is an integral feature of the genre akin to plot, dialogue, and other parameters. If we see the movies, the songs are related to the theme, plot, and there is also a concept of title song as well, which is related to the title of that movie, and title is included in that song, and that's why it is called as a title song. The first song recorded in India by Gohar Jan in 1902, and the first Bollywood film Alam Ara 1931 were under Sarigama, India's oldest music label owned by R.P. Sanjeev Goenka Group. Linguistically, Bollywood songs tend to use vernacular Hindustani, mutually intelligible to self-identified speakers of both Hindi and Urdu, while modern Bollywood songs also increasingly incorporate elements of English means Hindi plus English. Urdu poetry has had a particularly strong impact on Bollywood songs, where the lyrics draw heavily from Urdu poetry and the ghazal tradition. In addition, Punjabi is also occasionally used for Bollywood songs. The Indian music industry is largely dominated by Bollywood soundtracks, which account for nearly 80% of the country's music revenue. The industry was dominated by cassette tapes in the 1980s and 1990s before transitioning to online streaming in the 2000s, bypassing CD and digital downloads. As of 2014, the largest Indian music record label is T Series, with up to 35% share of the Indian market, followed by Sony Music India, the largest foreign owned label, with up to 25% share, and then Z Music, which has a partnership with Sony as of 2017. 216 million Indians use music streaming services such as YouTube, Hangama, Ghana, and so. As of 2021, T Series is the most subscribed YouTube channel with over 170 million subscribers. So, it is about the Hindi film songs history, historical background, and little bit about its turnover throughout the years. Next part is about the history. Hindi film songs are present in Hindi cinema right from the first sound film Alam Ara 1931 by Ardashir Irani, which featured 7 songs. This was closely followed by Shire Farhad by Jamshedji Premji Madan, also by Madan, which has as many as 42 song sequences strung together in the manner of an opera, and later by Indra Sabha, which has as many as 69 song sequences. However, the practice has subsided, and subsequent films usually featured between 6 and 10 songs in each production. Right from the advent of Indian cinema in 1931, musicals with song numbers have been a regular feature in Indian cinema. In 1934, Hindi film song began to recorded on gramophones and later played on radio channels, giving rise to a new form of mass entertainment in India which was responsive to popular demand. Within the first few years itself, Hindi cinema had produced a variety of films which easily categorized into genres such as historicals, mythologicals, devotional, fantasy, etc. But each having songs embedded in them such that it is incorrect to classify them as musicals. The Hindi song such the Hindi song was such an integral feature of Hindi mainstream cinema, besides other characteristics, that post independence alternative cinema, of which the films of Satyajit Ray are an example, discarded the song and dance motif in its effort to stand apart from mainstream cinema. The Hindi film song now began to make its presence felt as a predominating characteristic in the culture of the nation and began to assume roles beyond the limited purview of cinema. In multicultural India, as per film historian Parth Chatterjee, the Hindi film song cut through all the language barriers in India to engage in lively communication with the nation where more than 20 languages are spoken and scores of dialects exist. Bollywood music has drawn its inspiration from numerous traditional sources such as Ramlila, Nautanki, Tamasha, and Parsi theatre, as well as from the West, Pakistan, and other Indic musical subcultures. The next part is about style and format. The various use of languages in Bollywood songs can be complex. Most use variations of Hindi and Urdu, with some songs are also including other languages such as Persian, and it is not uncommon to hear the use of English words in songs from modern Hindi movies. Besides Hindi, several other Indian languages have also been used, including Braja, Awadhi, Bhojpuri, Punjabi, Bengali, and Rajasthani. In a film, music both in itself and accompanied with dance has been used for many purposes, including heightening a situation, commenting on theme and action, providing relief, and serving as interior monologue. In a modern globalization standpoint, Bollywood music has many non Indian influences, especially from the West. Many in Hindi film music composers learned and mimicked Hollywood's style of matching music to scene, atmosphere into their own film songs. The result being Bollywood music, these songs can be considered a combination of Western influences and Hindi music. Production. Songs in Bollywood movies are deliberately crafted with lyrics often written by distinguished poets or literate, often different from those who write the film script, and these lyrics are often then set to music, carefully choreographed to match the dance routine or script of the film. They are then sung by professional playback singers and lip synced by the actors. Bollywood cinema is unique in that the majority of songs are seen to be sung by the characters themselves rather than being played in the background. Although protagonists sing often, villains in films do not sing because music and the arts are as a sign of humanity. In Western cinema, often a composer who specializes in film music is responsible for the bulk of music on the film's soundtrack. And while in some film songs may play an important part, in Bollywood films the songs often drive large scale production numbers featuring elaborate choreography. The key figure in Bollywood music production and composition is the music director, While in Western films, a music director or music coordinator is usually responsible for selecting existing recorded music to add to the soundtrack. Typically, during opening and closing credits in Bollywood films, the music director often has a much broader role, encompassing both composing music or songs, especially for the film, and, if needed, securing additional licensed music. In this sense, Bollywood music director also plays the role of a composer and music producer. The lyricist of Bollywood songs is less likely to be the same composer or music director, as Bollywood films often go to great lengths to include lyrics of special significance and applicability to the film's plot and dialogue, and are the words of highly regarded poets or lyricists set to music written specifically for such words in the film, as noted above. Bollywood film songs have been described as eclectic both in instrumentation and style. They often employ foreign instruments and rework existing songs, showing remarkable inventiveness in the reinvention of melodies and instrumental techniques. Bollywood film songs often tend to be accompanied by expensive music videos. Some are among the most expensive music videos of all time. The most expensive Indian music video is Party All Night, which costs rupees 60 million to produce. Adjusted for inflation, the most expensive Indian music video was Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya for the 1960 film Mughal Azam, which at the time cost than rupees 1.5 million, equivalent to $3 million adjusted for inflation. So, here we can understand how the music is produced, Bollywood songs are produced. Next part is about genres. There are many genres used in Hindi cinema. First is about bhajan, again the dance, Indian dance music, again disco and ghazal, qawwali, rock music, or the other Bollywood songs are used, and those genres are come into existence for the music production and the music for Hindi films. Next part is about cultural impact. Indian cinema, with its characteristics film music, has not only spread all over Indian society but also been on the forefront of the spread of India's culture around the world. In Britain, Hindi film songs are heard in restaurants and on radio channels dedicated to Asian music. The British dramatist Sudha Butcher converted a Hindi film hit Hum Aapke Hai Kaun into a hit musical 14 songs, which was well received by the British audience. Filmmaker Baz Luhrmann acknowledged the influence of Hindi cinema on his production Moulin Rouge by the inclusion of a number of Hindi sad diamonds based on the filmy song Chamma Chamma, which was composed by Annu Malik. In Greek, the genre of Indo-Prepis sprang from Hindi film music, while in Indonesia, dangdut singers like Ilya Khadam, Roma Irama, and Mansoor Yes have reworked Hindi songs for Indonesian audience. Let Petit Train and French singer Pascal of Bollywood popularized film music by covering songs such as Zindagi Ek Safar Hai Suhana. In Nigeria, Bandiri music, a combination of Sufi lyrics and Bollywood style music, has become popular among Hausa's youth. Hindi film music has also been combined with local styles in the Caribbean to form chutney music. So here we can understand how there is a cultural impact on other nations, other countries of Indian music and Indian Bollywood songs. Next is about the best-selling music directors. There are best-selling music directors from India. First name we can name as A.R. Rahman, Nadim Shravan, Annu Malik, Jatin Lalit, Uttam Singh, Ram Lakshman, Rajesh Roshan, Lakshmikant Parelal, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Nikhil Aditya, Nikhil Vinay. So here we can understand those music directors given a best musical songs to Bollywood, and its influence a lot on the Indian society, Indian youth, and also throughout the world. Next part is about influence of Bollywood music on society. If we think about the influence of Bollywood music on society, musical notion of patriarchy is to analyze the sociological and cultural impact of mainstream Bollywood music throughout the years in shaping and establishing social identities, attitudes, and ideals for audiences in India. As far as the lyrical narrative has changed, so have the musical elements of the composition over the decades. While the lyrical aspects provides a more apparent peek into our cultural psyche. The musical elements help us understand what the musical industry has deemed as more marketable and helps us seek into the Indian audience's musical composition consumption patterns. Next part is about the examples. Talking five films to support this very statement from the decades 2000 to 2000s and 2010s. Starting with the film Hum Aapke Hai Kaun featuring a song Chocolate Lime Juice. We see as upper class girl Madhuri Dixit who is coming to terms with her femininity but has no outlets for her feelings. The rift between her childhood imagery and her feelings towards her love interest emphasizes a notion of moving out of childhood into being in love with a man, which is representative of themes of love and arranged marriage that are often thrust upon women as an ideal, as the ideal. Another instance, Hum Tum, a 2004 film featuring a song called लड़की क्यों लड़कों से अलग होती है. The lyric narrative of song is criticism of the opposite gender using the popular media trope of man versus woman and the constant push to one up the other in some way. So, looking at more recent examples of Ma Da Ladala from the film Dostana sings about a mother's inability to cope with her son's apparent homosexuality, which is described as a disease of the heart, revealing that themes of minority sexual orientations were being explored, however, in ways that were still derogatory and uninformed. It is not only the lyrics that have presented a cultural psyche that still retains certain notions of a patriarchal, homophobic society, but also acts as fertile soil for these flawed ideologies to mainstream into real world. The compositional aspects have undergone immense changes over the past few years, favoring the use of more synthesized tones starting from the last decade, while the lyrics sustain the patriarchal tones as seen in the song Lucky Tu Lucky May from the film Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhaniya, where the hero is singing about how he will disregard and violate the heroine's consent, wrapped up in a trap inspired musical arrangement. Since synthesized compositions can be quicker to produce and fine tune later on, we have seen catchy tunes being pushed upon audiences due to their sheer marketability in being quick to produce and generate maximal profit. Take away. The choice of the lyrical theme is deliberate to cater to audiences that, similar to the song itself, seem innocent at first but harbor disturbing overtones. This particular song also plays into the boys will be boys sentiment towards harassment, which Bollywood has come to accept as an ideal expression of love. The themes in these songs range from growing into a romanticized view of love to blatant disrespect towards one's consent, which most probably does not accurately reflect how deeply entrenched patriarchal and regressive values are in society. but do represent how tolerant and accepting audiences have become of disturbing themes being showcased in mainstream media. So here we can understand how influence of Bollywood music on society and they catch the marketability of the audiences and create money from it. So there is a lot influence of Bollywood songs on the Indian youth, Indian society, and from the generation to generation, uh, we can see that how Indian society is affected through the Bollywood music. In the next lecture, we learn about the influence, socio-political impact of Bollywood on the Indian society. Thank you.